Welcome to episode 6 of Into the Forest with Pine. Today I'm here with Connor, who's on the ecosystem team at Flipside Crypto. How about we start off with you introducing yourself and kind of what you do, Connor?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jack. Really happy to be here. Just diving into what Flipside does as a whole, for anyone not familiar, we are, I think, at our core, a data analytics team and a data analytics solution within the blockchain industry. So we work with protocols, we index their data, curate it into SQL ready database tables, and then we work with our community of data analysts distributed all across the globe to provide analytic solutions for those protocols and those blockchains. So, for example, interfacing with the Solana Foundation to, understand, their needs when it comes to KPIs and understanding their users and all of that. We work with, like I said, our community analysts to analyze that on-chain data and provide answers to those many questions. And so where I sit on the ecosystem team is really that client service interface between the foundation and our community analysts to really understand, what those questions are, how they can best be addressed, and then working with the analyst to understand, how our data solves those problems. And maybe there are bugs in our data or issues that those analysts are having. I help to solve those problems internally as well. So I do have a bit of a data background myself with SQL from past jobs and experiences, but my day to day is more of the liaison between the foundations and our community analysts.
Awesome. Thanks for telling us about yourself. So I guess my first question is you've been doing a lot of work with Cosmos recently. So I'd love to kind of know like what has it been like working with the foundations with Cosmos and like how do you think they differ from like different protocols and blockchains in crypto?
Yeah, yeah. So I am part of the team that leads the Cosmos ecosystem here at Flipside, and it has been a super interesting journey. So I actually came into Flipside as someone that had experiences within the Cosmos ecosystem, prior to joining. So I was kind of that ecosystem expert and was immediately plugged in there to begin liaising for the Flipside team. I think that the Cosmos ecosystem as a whole is extremely different than a lot of other ecosystems, just given how decentralized it is, and that decentralization and distributed governance power is really like at the core of what drives the ecosystem forward, for better or for worse, right? I think that a lot of things within the Cosmos ecosystem can be bottlenecked by governance, but having everyone have a say in, what upgrades get pushed through, what changes are made to all of these different chains, it's super, super exciting to be able to, jam, whether it's in Telegram or on governance forums with, the true builders in the space and be able to provide your own input and on what's going on. So I've really liked that. As for Flipside, yeah, I think it makes, our role pretty interesting. We're not just interfacing with one point person at the foundation and saying, hey, these are our needs, help us answer them. We're really trying to get feedback from the core teams that are building within the ecosystems, the foundations that are building within the ecosystems, the validators, just community members that, have an outsized voice within these communities. So it's really interesting to the amount of people that I'm talking to on a day-to-day basis to understand, what problems there are and how Flipside can provide solutions to those problems.
Yeah. So it seems like people in the Cosmos are very focused on like governance, self-sovereignty and stuff like that. What do you think, since you've been talking to a lot of the builders in the ecosystem, what do you think drew a lot of these builders to building in Cosmos? Because it's probably not as easy as just throwing a contract onto Ethereum or something like that. So why has the like extra overhead be worth it for these people building these chains?
Yeah, I think it's really about being able to build on your own terms. The self-sovereignty aspect of the Cosmos is, I think, extremely important and attractive to builders. And Cosmosm and the Cosmos SDK is a pretty as someone who's not a builder, I'm kind of just repeating what I've, heard from the broader community. It's a pretty easy stack to work with. So being able to take an easy stack while also being able to make a ton of design choices and optimizing for the things that are important to you, I think is an extremely attractive for builders. and you don't really have to compromise on really any, whether it's speed or security. You can kind of choose your own adventure, I think, within the Cosmos ecosystem. And because everyone is in it for the same, I think, ideological reasons, everyone loves working with each other. It's super easy to get help. When Flipside was standing up our validators, we really wanted to go with, the bare metal structure and not use a third party provider. And we were able to reach out to, one or two other validators in the network and in the ecosystem, and they were on calls with us the next day for an hour or two, walking us through how to set them up and design choices that we should be thinking about and the pros and cons to each, and just like the amount of, I think, help and community within the ecosystem is truly unique.
Yeah, no, 100%. So you've been doing, on top of doing work with Cosmos, you've been doing work with Axelar, which is a blockchain on top of Cosmos. And one of their main features is general message passing, where they help blockchains talk from one blockchain to another. I was wondering if you could like dig into kind of blockchain interoperability and
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like now and kind of what you see the future of that being like.
Yeah, our relationship with Axelar has really opened my eyes to the world of interchain, and I think the future of interchain ecosystems and what that means from a UX and UI perspective and for end users. I think the users of crypto and blockchain, Web3, whatever you want to call it, today are going to be different than users 5 years from now. And I think improvements to UX and UI are necessary to bring those, to onboard the next million people to crypto, right? So Axelar is going to play, I think, an outsized role there. And kind of what I was saying about the Cosmos ecosystem and allowing builders to sort of choose your own adventure, I think Axelar takes that even a step further, with general message passing and the ability to talk between chains. And it's not just transferring assets, it's transferring actions. You're able to say, hey, I have Osmo on Osmosis. Um, I want to borrow against Arbitrum on Arbitrum. That can be done with one click of a button using Axelar's general message passing framework. That unlocks so much design space for builders and allows them to say, I want the security of Ethereum with the speed of Avalanche and the decentralized governance of the Cosmos ecosystem, right? You're able to say, I want all three of those things. And just by slapping Axelar's, tech stack on top of your design, you can get the best of all worlds. And I don't think that is understood enough by builders. I think a lot of people just think that Axelar is a bridge, and it's so much more than that. It's, complete green fields for anyone who wants to, come in and start building within Web3.
Yeah, building off on what you were saying, um, you're talking about how Axelar, like mostly right now, most of the cross-chain communication is just sending an asset from one place to another using bridges. Like, I guess, have you seen anything that you find really interesting other than that, like in
Mm-hmm.
the cross-chain space? Can you
Yeah,
explain it?
I think the one that comes to mind is Prime Protocol. I'll get into Prime in a minute. I do think that Axel, like the ecosystem teams building, with Axelar are going to be launching really cool, new and exciting things in the next coming months. I don't want to leak for anyone in particular, so I'm kind of boxing myself into what's already out there. I think Prime Protocol is a really cool example of what can be done with general message passing. So Prime is I think like a cross-chain Aave is probably the best analogy I can make. So you're able to collateralize your entire crypto portfolio within one single protocol. So Prime, while it sits on Moonbeam, you can use any asset that you have across ETH, Arbitrum, Avalanche, Polygon, and deposit that into Prime Protocol and then borrow against it. So you're really able to, I guess, maximize efficiency when it comes to borrowing and lending across your entire crypto portfolio within one application, which is really cool. You're able to see, all of your liquidation risks, all of your health ratios, everything across that complete portfolio, in one centralized location. And just that, is a 2x, 3x from what it's like today and trying to manage borrowing and lending across a multitude of platforms.
Yeah, I really think that like adding like complex message passing will turn like cross chain into more from like Bitcoin to Ethereum in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, there's a ton that can be done. And I helped work with Axelar to put on, two hackathons now that Flipside has sort of co-sponsored, and it's been really interesting to see, what the builders have been coming up with. Even something as, you know, I think basic is a bad word for it, but like cross-chain naming services, I feel like is something that people, can understand easily, like ENS for cross-chain and the amount of teams that have sort of built a solution for that. But then even taking something that I didn't even think of, streaming systems and cross-chain tipping and having gamers or influencers be able to have a banner that they can accept any crypto donation from any network and have that be received as USDC on Ethereum or something like that. Like that's a cool use case, right? But I think general message passing and the ability to not just transfer assets, but to actually do actions on a destination chain from from another source chain is I think we've yet to see the full capability of that.
Yeah. So mentioned before that like when you're working with these blockchains on Cosmos, they're a lot more like decentralized in terms of like who's making the decisions and stuff like that. What's the biggest kind of lesson you've learned, like the difference between like a decentralized and centralized system when it comes to like decision making?
Yeah, I think that you really understand the motivations of everyone that operates within the system, right? I think when you're working directly with a foundation, they have, their immediate needs. They want to see their ecosystem flourish and gain adoption and have people in it for the right reasons and all of that. But then when you get down, like sort of open open up the box, I guess, and you're really in it and seeing all these stakeholders, everyone has different motivations and wants and needs. And when you're, a data provider, you're able to answer all of these different questions. Some people are concerned about, bots and MEV, and other people are concerned about governance and centralization risk and Nakamoto coefficients, and other people are worried about, daily active users. It's just interesting to see, how each person judges a healthy or successful ecosystem. So that's definitely been interesting. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned on that end of things is like making sure you're available to answer the questions for even like the person with the least amount of voting power in the ecosystem, right? It's not just the big validators with the most voting power that matter. It's really, validator 150 of the active set and beyond. Their opinions and their desires and their questions also matter.
Yeah, that's really insightful. So I guess zooming out a little bit, you've done some work in the treasury at Metricsdao, and I think working in a DAO treasury is a interesting place to be, where it's a lot different than kind of working in a normal treasury at a company. So I'd love for you to talk about your experience there and what things
Yeah.
that you kind of learned.
Yeah, honestly, like that was really, I was working in the crypto space prior to joining on as a Metricsdao contributor, but that was really my first, I think, experience with on-chain accounting, like outside of just my personal NFT trading and NFT summer 2021 and DeFi summer and all of that, and being able to like manage assets and liabilities just purely from an on-chain sense of accounting. It was super super interesting, like seeing our partners send money into the multi-sig and then having to distribute all of that. Like it was just a very very cool and unique experience. But yeah, I think that the metrics DAO as a whole was just like this really really cool incubation period for, I think, me personally, just like understand how much I enjoy like working in this sort of distributed workplace, and each person has their own different responsibilities, but getting together, working async late at night on the weekends, like all of that was just, I think, overall a really cool experience, and it's ultimately what led me to working at Flipside full time. There are people that were helping stand up Metricsdao that were Flipside employees, and they sort of were able to connect me with the right people, and here I am today. So it was a really great place to get started, I think.
Yeah. So zooming out into crypto on the whole, we've been in a bear market for a while now, but I think there's still a lot of things to be,
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot of things to be excited about and new interesting things coming to us. And so like, what kind of keeps you optimistic and what things like excite you and kind of bring you here every single day?
Yeah, I definitely think that this bear market has been a nice reset. I think there was a ton of frothiness and high valuations and random NFT projects that rugged it. I think it was necessary, right? Despite my bags being down and it being hard to sort of talk to the family at holidays, last holiday season. I do think it was necessary for the ecosystem to sort of reset in a way. What keeps me going, I think, are these conversations that we're having on a day-to-day basis with our partners and understanding, how they are thinking about their ecosystem and ecosystem growth and sustaining themselves through the bear market and all of the product innovation that's currently happening behind the scenes. Like all of the best builders are still here, all of the most passionate community members are still here, and that just provides me like the conviction that I need to sort of stay in the game. Everyone is continuing to ship. The best builders have been through multiple bear markets, and this really isn't anything for them. So just having those cool conversations about like what makes a quality user of our ecosystem a quality user, what's sticky, what's not. Having those kind of conversations are super, super interesting. And I just think that all of the foundations that we're partnered with are really thinking about their blockchains the right way and who their communities are. So that's definitely, I think, what keeps me motivated is that the people I'm talking to on a day in and day out are committed to long-term and sustainable growth, and that's obviously what we all like to see.
I think this is a great way to wrap things up. Thank you for coming on to Into the Forest with Pine.
Yeah, no, thank you. I definitely appreciate all that the Pine community does for Flipside and your army of data analysts and everything. So more than happy to help, and always like spending time with you, Jack. So appreciate you for having me
All
on.
right. Thank you.